So thank you, Oshabi, for letting me share my research here, and I'm going to keep it short. I think we all learned during the time of COVID that flexibility was the key. My initial proposal was to present research in Colombia, South America, and all of that got canceled due to COVID. So with that in mind, I am very, very grateful that Kane was willing to be flexible with the funding. So it changed my proposal to some performances that took place in Long Beach, California. It was a recital called Intersections. The idea behind this, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm a percussionist. I always feel that there's this separation many times between art music and pop music, legit and jazz. And in my world, I don't believe there should be separation. I believe there should be connection, intersection. So this recital, this performance was all about the intersections that, I guess for lack of a better way of saying it, art music and popular styles, world styles take place. So I performed a recital at the College Music Society National Convention in Long Beach, California. And this was in place of the planned performances in Colombia, South America. So these pieces were all chosen for very specific reasons. The first one was a piece called Menticide by John Sathis. And John is a New Zealand composer. And you can see I have a definition for you there of menticide: a systematic and intentional undermining of a person's conscious mind, brainwashing. A second definition would be the systematic effort to undermine and destroy a person's values and beliefs, as by the use of prolonged interrogation, drugs, torture, to induce radically different ideas. This term was coined in the 60s in the Black American experience as essentially, keeping it short here without getting too far down the political realm here, that the government was essentially brainwashing a large number of the population to try to get them to acquiesce to the way they wanted them to be. And John wrote this piece in a very hypnotic way to try to emulate what that might be like. And I'll show you a little bit of the music here. For those of you who are not musicians, this piece is written in almost a very militaristic style, very rudimental in nature, almost like a marching drum. And then you can see there are these letters that are spoken, this hypnotic type of thing. And I wish we had time to listen to the entire piece, but it really does a great job of emulating what that term meant to John. So this is kind of the intersection of politics and music, if you will. The next piece was called Triptych Boom by Chad Floyd. And a triptych is a set of 3 associated artistic, literary, or musical works. And this work incorporates 3 major genres: jazz, rudimental again, and world popular music. When I was young, I was often told that I was often not respected for my work when I was in school, because I delved into what was considered non-legitimate music. Even though I was at a school with orchestral studies, I was studying world music a great deal on the steel pan. I was studying hand drumming, and many of my professors would tell me, oh, that's just going to get in the way of your legit playing. I'm glad that there's a group of composers now who don't think that way, and Chad is one of them. He writes in a way that he combines all these elements of art and popular styles. It almost looks like, if you're a musician, like a drum set part more than a traditional concert percussion solo. And there's a lot of brush work, almost jazz-like at times, and again, very militaristic at times. And finally, the last work was called Outside the Box by Josh Guthrie, and this was written for cajon. And we often think of the cajon from its origins in Peru. It's an interesting instrument if you know much about the history. I did a presentation last year or 2 years on this, but it was what I call a boomerang, if you will. It was there was a diasporic community in Peru that basically, when the drums were taken away from them by the colonial governments, they found ways to make other drums, and they used boxes on the docks. Coffins were often used, dressers. There was a lot of woodworking going on. And then the name is escaping me. I don't have my notes in front of me. A famous Spanish guitarist came to Peru and discovered the cajon and took it back to Spain, and it became associated with flamenco music. And many people think of it as originating there, but it actually originated in Peru. But Guthrie uses this instrument in non-traditional ways. It's a lot of times in the States, we use the cajon as a kind of a substitute for the drum set. But Josh uses this particular instrument in a very unique way with 7/8 and 7/16. He uses hip hop, shuffle, and funk in this. I don't have a musical example on this, but it is much more than just a beatbox. So for me, these three pieces really represent these intersections between art, music, popular styles, and world music. And it's something that I and my students are really pushing to make sure that we're not just caught up in the old ways, but also looking at ways that the old ways intersect with the new. So I promised I would keep it short. So that is all I have. Thank you very much.